Welcome to what is unquestionably one of the most surprising, thrilling, and culturally significant events in the history of tennis. The situation that is currently taking place in the California desert has left tournament organizers, seasoned tennis analysts, and fans across the world utterly shocked. The environment, demography, and intensity of Indian Wells, a tournament that is revered and often referred to as the fifth Grand Slam, are undergoing a profound change. A young, extraordinarily gifted woman from the Philippines is the cause of the shock felt by the entire Indian Wells tennis garden. In an unprecedented show of support, thousands of Alexandra Eala supporters had flocked to California, prepared to pack the stadium to capacity. This might perhaps convert this famous American competition into a home game for the Southeast Asian sensation. We must examine the historical context of this event in order to fully comprehend the scope of what is taking place in the Coachella Valley today. Indian Wells has historically drawn a very particular, quiet, and conventional tennis audience. It is a sanctuary for purists who relax peacefully in the desert sun and provide courteous praise for outstanding shot-making. However, the traffic on Interstate 10 today presents a very different picture. Reports of miles-long backups, not the typical desert weekenders, but caravans adorned with the vivid blue, red, white, and yellow of the Philippine flag, are pouring in. It's more than just a crowd. It's a movement. The tennis world has never witnessed such a mobilization from the vast Filipino-American community, which has extensive and deep roots throughout Southern California, spanning from Los Angeles to San Diego. They have overtaken secondary markets and created a frenzy at the box office by purchasing tickets at an unprecedented rate. Reminiscent of the iconic settings typically saved for Davis Cup finals or the pinnacle of international sports, rather than a WTA Tour tournament in the middle of the American desert, the stadium grounds are being transformed into a thriving, thunderous sea of national pride. You may be wondering why there is such a strong, almost fanatical degree of support for this young player if you are just observing this occurrence. Alexandra Eala is not only a talented tennis player. She is a trailblazer who represents more than 100 million people's aspirations in sports. She set out on a voyage that few people in her area have ever dared to do after being born in Quezon City. She left home at a young age to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain, thousands of miles away. She made history at the US Open by becoming the first Filipino player to win a junior Grand Slam singles championship. However, professional greatness is not usually guaranteed by junior success, and the transition to the women's circuit is infamously harsh. Eala, however, has traveled this perilous route with a silent, deadly resolve. In order to gain the ranking points required to be where she is now, she has battled her way through the lower-tier ITF events, fighting in quiet places away from the noise of the audience. She is no longer the quiet possibility playing on the outside courts now that she has arrived at Indian Wells. The major attraction is her. One can feel the shock reverberating across the Indian Wells establishment. Security guards and tournament directors are frantically trying to adapt to a setting for which they were, to be honest, unprepared. It's contagious. Merchandise is being sold out by vendors. Practice courts are packed with people who are only interested in seeing her warm up. Additionally, rhythmic chanting, drumming, and an outpouring of pure joy have taken the place of the tennis garden's customary calm murmur. In tennis, this degree of fervor is extremely uncommon. Superstars like Naomi Osaka and Lee's historic runs have given us a fleeting glimpse of it. However, there is something unique about the mobilization of the Filipino fanbase for Alexandra Eala. It is so intimate. It is the result of years of witnessing one of them battle, make sacrifices, and eventually win the top divisions of a sport that has always been dominated by Americans and Europeans. This introduction, this startling reality we are seeing, is just the beginning of a much deeper, more intricate story about globalization in sports, the strength of diaspora communities, and the extraordinary, indisputable talent of a young woman who has the potential to completely upend the tennis establishment. Let's now examine this moment's anatomy in great detail. Analyzing Alexandra Eala's technical mastery, the WTA Tour's strategic environment, and the significant cultural ramifications of this Indian Wells stadium invasion. We must first analyze her game, which is an intriguing fusion of traditional grit and contemporary power, in order to comprehend how she commands this degree of attention. Eala has an instant tactical edge on the tour because she is a left-handed player. She has carefully honed her left-handed serve, which naturally tails away from the right-handed opponent's backhand on the ad side. However, it goes beyond the serve. It's the vicious heavy top spin she produces with her forehand. It is impossible to ignore the stylistic legacy of training at the Rafa Nadal Academy under the close supervision of the coaches and frequently receiving coaching from the renowned Spaniard himself. With a violent bite, her forehand launches off the court, forcing opponents behind the baseline and controlling the rally's geometry. However, Eala has a very flat, penetrating two-handed backhand, unlike some players who only use strong spin. She can modify the ball's trajectory down the line with amazing speed and accuracy thanks to this wing, which is her sword. This player can adjust to different surfaces and opponents by combining a flat, aggressive backhand with a hefty Spanish-style forehand. In particular, Indian Wells is a competition that was essentially created for her style. This region's courts are renowned for being incredibly slow and hard, with tremendous bounce. The ball is gripped by the rough surface, which maximizes the impact of her top spin and makes the ball jump out of the opponent's strike zone. Her aggressive shots also have an added punch because of the dry desert air, which speeds up the ball's flight. A perfectly matched skill set is met by an ideal storm of environmental variables. However, in professional tennis, having physical equipment is only half the fight. The strength of mind needed to enter a stadium court. It is a tremendous weight to know that thousands of people have come to witness you fly your country's flag. Such crippling expectations have caused many young prodigies to collapse. Alexandra Eala's cold persona behind the lines is what makes her so completely captivating. She has the poise of a veteran. She takes her time when she reaches a breaking point. She performs her game plan, bounces the ball with purposeful precision, and goes through her routines. The particular stresses she has experienced from childhood are the source of her mental toughness. You are compelled to mature quickly when you are 14 years old and hailed as the future of your nation's athletic legacy. The national media closely followed every junior match she participated in. Every setback was thoroughly examined, and every win was commemorated as a national holiday. The enormous roaring crowd at Indian Wells is not a diversion for her. Rather, it is fuel since she has been forged in the furnace of national expectation. Let's also look at the WTA Tour as it stands right now and how Eala fits into it. Right now, the women's game is going through an exciting period of change. We have powerful players like Aryna Sabalenka and Elena Rybakina who can serve opponents off the court, as well as dominant forces like Iga Swiatek, whose mobility and heavy spin make her practically untouchable on clay. However, there is a great deal of instability and room for new, eager players to succeed below this top tier. Because Eala's game is so hard to read, she poses a special challenge to the system. She is neither a defensive counterpuncher nor a one-dimensional ball basher. She is a chameleon of strategy. When needed, she can loop heavy balls deep into the corners to negate strength by grinding from the baseline. But she can also go inside the baseline and take the ball early to give her opponents more time. At Indian Wells, this tactical adaptability will be put to the test. With so much elite talent from the first round, the draw is brutal. Eala will need to negotiate a maze of seasoned pros and other up-and-coming talent if she is to succeed here. But think about the effect of the crowd we have been talking about. The sport of tennis is extremely solitary. You are alone yourself on an island with your opponent, your doubts, and your thoughts. The stadium silence may be overwhelming when momentum turns against you. Now picture yourself playing in this setting against Alexandra Eala. The stadium erupts whenever her opponent makes an unforced error. The noise is overwhelming each time Eala hits a winner. Whoever is on the other side of the net from her will be under tremendous psychological strain. When players are on the verge of losing, we have witnessed spectators bring them back, giving them a rush of adrenaline when their lungs are burning and their legs feel heavy. This California gathering of Filipino Americans is more than just onlookers. They are actively involved in the match, acting as Eala's emotional support system and posing a psychological risk to her rivals. It is also impossible to overestimate the moment's cultural and economic ramifications. In order to reach new countries and draw in new fan generations, the WTA and the ADP are always looking for methods to broaden their global presence. One of the main targets for this expansion has long been Asia. Southeast Asia's promise has been mostly unrealized, despite the fact that nations like China and Japan have successfully produced Grand Slam champions and hosted important competitions. The secret to reaching a huge number of people who are obsessed with sports is Alexandra Eala. The Philippines is a nation that fervently supports its athletes. Every time he fought, boxing legend Manny Pacquiao brought the country to a halt, as we have witnessed. The nation as a whole would hold its breath, traffic would vanish, and crime would completely stop. That same kind of devotion is starting to be demanded of A. This is a fantastic chance for the Indian Wells event organizers. The unexpected surge of thousands of fervent supporters generates enormous profits from ticket sales, refreshments, and merchandising. More significantly, though, it raises the event's international stature. It produces a moment that goes viral. Videos and pictures of thousands of Filipino supporters singing, waving flags, and taking over the tennis area will be aired globally. It makes a strong statement that tennis is a really global sport that can arouse intense passion at the grassroots level, and is not only a country club activity for the top. Brands and sponsors will be paying close attention. A young, eloquent, incredibly gifted, and fervently loved player like Eala has enormous marketability. She bridges the divide between Eastern ethnic pride and Western athletic traditions, making her a corporate ambassador's dream. We also need to consider how this affects tennis at the grassroots level in the Philippines and throughout Southeast Asia. Due in large part to the high cost of tennis and the lack of adequate facilities in poor countries, young athletes in these areas have long preferred basketball, boxing, or badminton. Many gifted children never pick up a racket because of the cost of purchasing equipment, paying for court time, and eventually financing foreign travel for competitions. However, visibility makes all the difference. A seed is sown when a little girl in Manila or Cebu witnesses Alexandra Eala emerge onto a California stadium court to the thunderous applause of thousands of spectators. It demonstrates the dream's viability. It honors the sacrifices made by parents who scrounge every last cent to get a pair of tennis shoes for their child. There is no question that Eala's success will lead to a spike in tennis playing in the Philippines. It's probable that public courts will receive more support, development programs will receive more funding, and a new generation of players will want to imitate her fierce competitive attitude and big topspin forehand as they grow up. Every huge forehand, every critical breakpoint, and every thunderous cheer from the audience will be covered by us. Be sure to keep watching, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below letting us know where you are in the world, and continue to support Alexandra Eala's incredible ascent. Enjoy the amazing tennis that lies ahead, and thank you for joining me for this in-depth analysis.